There, myself Krishna, very warm welcome to all. And in this day, we discuss about little bit artificial intelligence topic. And in this artificial intelligence, very topic is very important here. And as you know, we started like mathematical series, and we discussed lots of concept here: mathematical, calculus, and linear algebra, vector, and matrix, determinants. All the particular stuff I discussed it in the few past videos. But now today we are discussing a little bit about like optimizer and hypothesis testing, and that's the important part. Because of that, when you actually want to just train your model and you want to just like how your algorithms want to, how algorithm learns. Okay, so when you actually look toward this particular thing, that's the particular topic is important to discuss. Because of that, as you know, like we this mathematical part, okay, and we not covering there, we are not covered this entire concept as like how this particular thing work, but I discussed the idea behind the scene that you should to know. Because of when you actually want to just make your own model, you should to know about the what the basic thing that running behind the scene, and then after you can just fine tune it. So very easy to so control over entire structures. To you need to understand the idea behind the scene. So what the hypothesis, what neurons, what it's all about it. Okay, so let's come to discuss an overall agenda for today is like the first hypothesis testing, and second is optimizer algorithm. So we discuss optimizer algorithm. This is a very important one because of every model use optimizer algorithm to learn, to boost their learning rate. So that's the basic thing running behind the scene. So again, if this one is going to productive for you, if you learn something from there, then it's my pleasure. And so let's start. Okay, let's come to the first agenda. And in this agenda, we actually talk about hypothesis testing, and that's an important one. Okay, when we actually talking about like hypothesis testing is like hypothesis is all about. It's all about claim. What claim that you make by looking any event. Okay, by looking any events. What's about any certain experiments. So that's basic thing that okay. So I give you a little bit example for now. So for hypothesis look like what you actually hypothesis is. That's important one we need to understand first. So actually hypothesis is like you when you actually when lots of people, okay, assuming like something happened today. Okay, let's suppose just we want to predict weather. Okay, and what the hypothesis in that particular weather. Let's suppose if I want to know that what the weather condition for today, is it rain or not. I just go and just figure out all the peoples, and just I try to know that the is it weather right now or not. Then the lots of people says me give a feedback as a okay, yeah, this is day, and I think like the rain today. Okay, this is the rainy day, and lots of people say that. Okay, so that is the hypothesis. Without there is a no any evidence, there are no any proofs, they not any analyze anything, without they any just of guts and feelings, they says that uh, there is a rainy day, this is the rainy day for today. That's the basic hypothesis. In the behind hypothesis, there is no any proof analyze, and no one is analysis of the data behind the scene happen inside it. This is only for feeling, and like this is all about like something assumption claim that you make for on certain on some kinds of the events. So that's the basic thing happen inside the hypothesis, and that's the basic. So how can you know this particular hypothesis is right or not right? The simple way we can know this particular one is like by conducting experiment, and that's really help you to understand what actually behind the scene, and what happen if the hypothesis is going to true or not true. That's the basic thing. Okay, so in the hypothesis we actually talk about like claim, evidence, and decision. So it's I'm not going to give you entire context to explain you like what exactly hypothesis is, but I give you three magic words which actually define entire concept behind the hypothesis testing. So in the hypothesis testing, we actually look toward the claim, what the claim people are try to make on perspective of the rain, and then after we collect the evidence and we make decision, is it right claim or not. Okay, so that basic thing that running behind the scene, just we collect the claim, we collect the feedback of the people, and just and then after I analyze my evidence that I have, and then after I make as a okay. So that's all about it. And when actually hypothesis testing work, like this is important one because of that machine learning model. Actually, when they actually this also helps us to boost the learning performance of the hypothesis testing. And basically, when actually looking toward the learning algorithms want to learn much better, they need to just figure out some kinds of the hypothesis also in that data. Okay, so that's important part. Okay, So key concept here that there were two types of the hypothesis. Firstly, null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. In null hypothesis, we actually talk about different assumption. Okay, let's suppose one child, I give her two candies to a particular child. Okay, uh, candy one, candy two, and I say this just I think different types of the candies. I just test this particular one, and initially I assume that I claim the particular both candy about this particular both candy. The both candy are same. So this is default assumption that I set on the candy. After this testing, I get result different. So that's the alternate hypothesis. So this is the basic difference between like if the child tests this particular one, the to both candies, they say no, this is not the same. Okay, this is a this is a different. Okay, like how much this both candy are different in taste, and initially I assume that I make a claim that this both are same, but after this one, I get alternate. I think I get alternate hypothesis. Okay, alternate outputs. So that's called the alternate hypothesis. And the default assumption we take first, and then after this particular assumption going to alternate, that's the alternate hypothesis running. So that's the basic one. Alternate hypothesis is like uh, alternate assumption when we're taking default. So initially we start any hypothesis. If you want to just prove that any hypothesis, we start always with the default hypothesis with null hypothesis, and then after we move forward to alternate hypothesis. Okay, so the main goal of the any algorithms want to do. Okay, and okay, so it's the basic graphs look like this is the null hypothesis, this alternate hypothesis. Okay, and the important point like significance level and p-value. So significance level is all about threshold. We need to set some kinds of threshold, and at some point of the time, okay, what basic threshold decide this particular null hypothesis is right or wrong. Okay, so it's all about like how can we know this particular null hypothesis is wrong or right. So what the specific threshold limit that you set, and after this you can say this particular null hypothesis is we should to reject. Okay, okay, that's fine. So that's the basic significance value, and significance value is all about a simple threshold which actually decide which hypothesis is like wrong, and how can we just reject. Okay, so it sets a certain threshold for it. P value is all about like prove the hypothesis true. How can you say this particular hypothesis is true? So we need to set some specific threshold which actually decide this particular hypothesis is true or not true. So that's the basic thing about the significance value and p hypothesis, like p value, significance level, and p value. So that's the basic thing running behind the scene, and so that's all about like hypothesis testing, and this is important part because of that when actually you want to just algorithm learn. Okay, so the few part is very confidential. Okay, I'm not just saying that this particular one work like differently, but in that few algorithm part and few data are hypothetical. Okay, so if the model want to learn something from there, they need some kinds of proof, and they follow the particular procedure to just learn from this particular hypothetical data, and they test the hypothesis and just learn after from it. So that's important one. Okay, so uh, let's come to the next part. Let's come to the next part, and this is agenda number 2, and where we focus literally on optimizer algorithm. Okay, so let's start. So actually, when we're talking about optimizer algorithm, so optimizer algorithm is it is simple main purpose of the optimizer algorithm to just minimize loss function. Okay, minimize loss of the model. So what's kinds of the loss? Okay, if you don't know what the loss is, then I will tell you. So actually model always move toward their like give the better performance. Okay, always try to give a better performance, and they adjust itself the weight gradients, and that's all adjust itself in their toward their basic toward the basic of their the actual output. Okay, so the loss function is all about like predicted output and actual output, the difference between both of them, what the value that you got. So we need to just figure it out just, and we need to just minimize it. Okay, and so optimizer algorithms work like simple. They update the weight and parameters, and just minimize the loss function. The main purpose is okay. And if you know that a particular optimizer algorithm is used to update algo weights gradients and minimize the loss function. Okay, so it's help us to minimize loss function to make a model much greater to keep a greater output over there. So that's okay. And when we're talking about types, SGD, Adam W's, this is the main. And SGD refer to static gradient descent, which actually work like different. It is just such a tools. Okay, it is just such a framework. You can say it is such a framework which actually used to just all algorithm to train a model. When you actually use it, then you use this Adam W and SGD. This kinds of libraries which actually used to just train a model, pre-built codes. That's okay. And that's okay. The hypothesis testing is look like this particular one. And when actually why this particular one is essential for us, like why we use it helps us to reduce the error, and it helps you learn better algorithms. When actually algorithms want to learn much better, then hypothesis testing like optimizer algorithm play a very big role over there. And that's the important part to discuss, so that's why I'm talking about. Okay, so that's all about optimizer algorithm. You need to know basic only for that. I'm not moving toward the depth of this one. Because of that, there are lots of pre-built codes available here to just optimize your algorithm much better. But if you just when we actually we apply in the real world, we learn much about the optimizer algorithm. So that's all about. So I give a brief description around the optimizer algorithm. That's enough for particular today. So that's fine. Let's so if this one is going to productive for you, if you learn something from them, then it's my pleasure. See you soon.